Ben is an advisor to the board at Save the Waves. He's 20 years as an entrepreneur in banking and retail. And basically, he's also an environmentalist. So Ben, thank you very much for coming. It's all yours, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And wow, what an honor. What a treat to be here with you tonight. And thank you to Paul and you, Dan, and the panelists. You know, when I was walking in, it's my first time here at RGS, I saw a flyer that said inspiration, contacts, and advice. And I think you're getting that here right now. And I'm really proud to be a part of this. As you heard, I'm an advisory board member. I'm also a consulting technology executive, and I help the Save the Waves Coalition. I've helped them in a couple different ways. I'll talk about that, but the main topics that I want to cover with you tonight are, well, I'm going to show you a little movie. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Save the Waves. I'm going to talk about an application that we built called the Endangered Waves app. I'm going to explain how we think about surf ecosystems. And then I'm going to try and wrap with some suggestions for how to use shared values of a user community and combine data and give you some suggestions, hopefully, for the January hackathon to inspire some activity for January. Who's got the clicker there for the slides? Thanks. Green forward. So, sustainability and climate change. It's easy to get depressed, right? I mean, it's easy to get tuned out. You know, we're just dealing with so many difficult things, and particularly when it comes to protecting the ocean, it can just be overwhelming, right? So I don't know about you, but I think to myself, how can I alone make a difference? You know, the challenge for me is to get engaged, right? And as a surfer, and those of us at the Save the Waves Coalition, most of us are surfers, we want people happy. We want them tuned in. You know, like the little girl in this picture smiling and her dad, right? They're tuned in and they're using surfing, and we use surfing, as a positive support model. We want people engaged. Simple things, like as surfers, you know, we sit in the water. We're sitting in the lineup, we're waiting for waves, and we're motivated to not sit in crap, right? We don't want to smell sewage, right? So we'll go out and do things to change that, right? So we're a coalition of people who try and harness that passion, that stoke, to make a change for good. And I think that's kind of important because the premise that I'm going after here is that when you understand a user community with shared values, it's easier to make change. So if you can harness a group of people who have shared values when you're dealing with environmentalism, I think you're going to have a stronger impact. So let me try and give you an example. In this video that we're going to see, do I have to hit click? Let me see. Yeah. This is Cliff Capono. He's a scientist, a surfer, a Save the Waves ambassador, and just a stellar human being. He's going to talk a little bit about a dirty wave challenge.
It's hard to believe that there's 8 million metric tons of plastic just floating on the ocean surface. But I'm still hopeful that we as a people can use technology to reverse the trend and protect the places we love.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Istanbul and Vinaka, a very good morning to you all. Welcome to the Fiji Islands. Local time coming up just a minute to 8.
Just got to Fiji. We're gonna meet up with Hannah Bennett. She's a pro surfer from Fiji and also the vice president of the Fiji Surfing Association. I see her. How are you?
Surfing means a lot of different things to different people. It connects me to my surroundings and secures me to a community of people who cherish the ocean and enjoy what we get to be a part of. The reason I'm here in Fiji as a surfer, a scientist, and an ambassador to Save the Waves is to encourage and reward people like Hannah who use the Endangered Waves app so they can become better stewards in their community. Hannah Bennett is a passionate surfer with a fierce enthusiasm for the environment.
Us gang, we like to surf. You know surfing? Do you ever heard of that? You know, surfboard on the waves? So we surf out here in the harbor. So when we're getting through the rubbish, then it comes all the way out, and then we have to surf in the rubbish. Yeah? So next time, think about it. Yeah, next time, if I see anybody throwing rubbish in the river, I'm gonna be really upset. Okay, see you, gang.
Every surfer that comes to Fiji thinks about how pristine and beautiful it is. But what they don't see is the everyday Fiji that Hannah and her community sees. I was shocked by the amount of trash, and while there is a lot of people like Hannah trying to make a difference, there needs to be more stewardship and education in order to really make an impact.
I've done 3 beach cleanups with the local swimming community here, and some surfers as well, part of the Fiji Surfing Association. And it, you know, we come back the next day, it's there. And it has to do with the tides, the rain. If it's heavy rain, the rivers are gushing, and you know, it's not like there's a break. You know, the beach doesn't get a break. It's just full with trash all the time. And so that's when we've come to the conclusion, like, wow, it's not the people who are using the park or the beach that are polluting. It's actually a way bigger problem. And so just follow the trail, and this is where it's led us to.
Where are we right now? And
We are at Tikaram Park in Lamy Town. This is the beach that I took that photo.
has it always looked like this?
No, it hasn't. And it gets worse every year. This was reclaimed land. There's a river that comes out right here. And these banks were at one point white beach sandbanks, you know, or a lot lighter than they are now. And now it's just mud and rubbish.
Like, what compels you to send a photo in to show what's going on?
You know, it wasn't like anything choreographed. I just took a shot and submitted it. It's definitely empowering. Like, I felt like, wow, all of a sudden these thoughts that I'm having and all this frustration, this app has given me like a voice. And now that I've put it out there, the next question is like, the feedback is like, well, what did you do about that situation? Having Save the Waves here is just kind of put, I guess, a bit of like a map into how we can move, or I can move forward and help the community move forward into finding a solution. We need to go up these rivers and, you know, immerse ourselves into these communities and see how we can help the problem from there. So I'm stoked about that because, like I said, we're kind of on the same page now, and everyone can agree that's a good starting point.
On behalf of Save the Waves, we want to award you the Dirty Wave Challenge.
No way! Oh
Winner, yeah.
No way! Oh my
So,
God!
yeah,
Thank you so much. No way! Are you being serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. Yeah.
Oh my God! No way!
Now
That's
you
amazing.
can, now you can use this resource to be able to work with the local people and organizations.
real?
Yeah,
That's
to
awesome! Thank you
figure
so
out how
much.
to protect your wave.
So I'm sorry. I'm just so stoked. Like I said, it's a bonus, and we're gonna do so good. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Hannah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
The purpose of the Dirty Wave Challenge is to shift the values of the global surfing community, not just by gathering data or developing new solutions, but to take action and become better stewards of our environment. Ultimately, it's not our land, ocean, or even our waves' survival that calls upon us. It's our own survival, and it's up to us to protect it.
So I hope you like that film as much as I do. Yeah, thanks. And what you saw there was a solution in the video called the Endangered Waves app, and we used that video to communicate this Dirty Wave Challenge, where we're using the app to create contests, basically, to find dirty things, clean them up, and then motivate people to get engaged. So it's kind of a simple app, but it's got a pretty powerful result, right? You saw her. The point that I want to make is that shared values, right, of that surfer community, plus the tech, plus the data, they're all coming together to protect places that we love. And I think those three things can be used to help address sustainability and climate change. So think about that for your January hackathon, right? And let me give you some ideas as we talk about this app. We know we've got about 30+ million surfers out there. We want to try and get about 1 million of them using the app with partnerships. And the app itself is pretty straightforward. You see an issue, you take a photo of it, you select a threat or what type of issue it is, you tag the location, geotag it, and then you share it. In doing that, we're getting surfers and beachgoers to basically be real-time stewards of their coastal resource, right? And then we take that data, by the way, it's available on Android and Apple. We take that data, whoops, where'd we go? I must have lost a slide there. There it is, I'll go back. This is the list of issues that we're starting with, right? We go after oil spills, sewage, trash, lost access, coastal erosion, and then we help people track this data, the threat, and then with that data, we inform coastal agencies or educate users, right? And this, we think, helps connect to our bigger picture mission, which is to protect surf ecosystems. So think about that video. You heard Hannah say, the app has given me a voice. She said, now, what are we going to do about that? Right? So it's tactically, she's gathering data about her environment. Strategically, we as Save the Waves have been for years trying to protect surf ecosystems. This is kind of like state parks, where we are creating and fighting for places at risk. We're trying to protect those places that we love, not only as surfers, but as environmentalists, as conservationists, as people who understand the relationship of land and sea, trying to ensure that the economies and ecological communities there have resilience over time. So I look at that combination of protecting areas, stewardship, and direct action, and I think about where we are here tonight. And I want to use the analogy of surfing driving demand for protecting areas, and talk about that as maybe an arrow, as a metaphor for an arrow, where the arrowhead could be your shared value community. It could be social networking, marketing. The point is, the tip of the arrow is a group of people with shared values that you're trying to connect. The wood of the arrow for me is just all the technology. We've talked about extract, transform, load, and ingestion, and data cleansing, and labeling, and all the kinds of things that you have to do in data science, right? That's the wood of the arrow. The feathers, to me, are the data standards and the processes. The point I'm making is try and get reuse by understanding how you can have the same technology in big data. You guys are often experts in this. I know these people are. But try and think about, if you're putting together something for your January hackathon, you have all these sources of data. How can you connect those shared communities to a bigger picture? For us, the bigger picture are these world surfing reserves. This is where we're going after long-term sustainability. Again, kind of like state parks in America. We're trying to understand the shared values of a user community of surfers, and then use data and technology to protect the environment, combining those two. So I would encourage you to think about that so that you have, if you're going to prototype an application, you have a tactical approach to it, but you also have a bigger picture issue about what is it that you're trying to solve for. Because if you combine data at scale based on standards and the kinds of things that you heard Chris say, what was that, 50 million water quality records, right? Big number. Now, how do you combine that with big ideas to help save the world, right? So it's not just data, but you're starting it from the people who have values that you can then leverage, because that's where you're going to get momentum. For us, we've been getting some momentum over the last few years. We've established these state park-like environments in California, Argentina, Portugal, Peru, Mexico, Chile, Brazil, Puerto Rico, but we have some big goals. We want to protect 1,000 surf ecosystems globally by 2025, and we want to mobilize 1 million people. I think, again, the powerful app as kind of a tactical way to gather data and inspire people, combined with a strategic initiative like World Surfing Reserves together, that makes big change. So when you guys are thinking about data standards or propagating those 50 million water examples, I think you're actually better off than we are in some cases in the States. I was thinking about a local break I surf in Santa Cruz, and I know that there are guys that have water quality who are local to that beach. They have data. There's guys in the county that have water quality to that beach, and there's guys in the state of California that have water quality. Those are 3 data stores that aren't talking to each other. They're not sharing that wood, right? They're not using data standards to empower the arrowhead of those users. The point is, as an organization of people here tonight across government and corporate and individual, you have the opportunity for reuse and scale. And if you think strategically about how to combine those two, I think you're going to make a bigger difference. When you think about the types of data that you're gathering, it might be helpful to break it into passive and active. We do this. Passive data on the left are basically the way you saw the app in the screen work to select a threat, write a description, tag it with geo data, and then share it with a partner data. Active data, like in the movie, is the same process, but you're using it for a particular campaign. The point of separating out passive and active is that if you're seeking press and you're seeking to create constituency engagement of your shared value community, having active data and a facility around that can really help your target community, and that can create positive press for you. For example, our app has been performing pretty well. We are in, I think, 34 countries now after launching not too long ago. We had an initial target of 2,000 users, and we're up over 3,000, which is terrific. And the app won Best Conservation App in a Hero X competition. So I'd actually like to give a shout out right now to a guy who I think is sitting in the back, Matt. Matt, stand up for a second because you deserve some applause. Matt is the developer of the application. He did a great job with the Endangered Waves app. And he really deserves a great deal of credit because it is a couple years of his life that he put into the thinking and the creation of all that. And it's making great progress. And again, we're delighted to be here to talk about it as a best practice for how you might take off with your January activities. One of the things you're going to want to think about is integrations and data. We have built it with interoperable data-based standards for businesses like Surfline, government agencies like the California Coastal Commission, and NGOs like Marine Debris Tracker. The formats of the records are interoperable, and we use methods like REST APIs and things for integration of both active and passive data. But the important point I want to make here is that you guys, particularly at the government level, I think have the opportunity to really support the Venn diagram overlap of people, process, and tools, right? When you look at the intersection of those 3 things, people, process, and tools, at a large-scale effort, and then you combine that concept of the arrowhead where you have shared value communities, all the technology, and all the data standards coming together to create effective change with data, tech, and the environment, you have an opportunity, I think, to embrace, particularly in relationship between government and corporate, standards and personnel accountable for the way in which the UK and government data models can achieve reuse. And that is something that you should really harness, in my opinion, having been in large corporations. The power of central functions around data processing and architecture, supported by policy at a top-down level, can impact change in a huge way. So I would encourage the support for any kind of data presumed open policies that you put in place. I would encourage understanding the intersection between people, process, and technology. I would encourage reuse of technology and any kind of standards. Again, arrowhead, wood, feathers. Keep it simple. What are the things that you can put in place that, whether it's a B2B solution working for government and private, whether it's a B2C where you're building out consumer-based activity, for example, proactive alerts to phones for flood information, because you have the data for the person who is going to be impacted in your database. Coordinate with law enforcement who might have the ability to do 911-like alerts. Push the combination of that data in a proactive way so that you are linking and keying data in a proactive model, and do that with forethought for prototyping on your shared value community in the January hackathon. Take the time to think about those types of standards issues, how you're going to get reuse of the tech, who those shared value communities are. See if you can't line up 10 shared value communities and use the same tech, the same data. Reuse is really good in this model, right? You're going to get more economy of scale, and you're going to get more change fast with speed to market. So I think I've run out of time. Let me just summarize by saying on top is my email and phone number if you want to contact me. Nick is the executive director for Save the Waves. If you want to follow up with Save the Waves specific stuff, he's a great resource. I'm happy to help as well. Today I've tried to talk to you a little about Save the Waves Coalition, the Endangered Waves app. I've told you about our surf reserves, and I've talked about shared values and data standards and how people, process, and tools can help prepare for your January hackathon. I'd like to say thank you so very much for the opportunity to be here. It's a real highlight of my life to be on stage here in this community. It's wonderful. And I wish you all alacrity and grace as you try and make the world a better place. And I think now we're going to have a little bit of a Q&A session, so I'll
Indeed.
have a seat.
Ben, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.